Okay, so this is a 15-minute video on how to construct a class for crow pose with the peak engagement of protraction of the shoulders, trying to find space between the shoulders, maybe giving us enough access to the core to move into half crow. We already did one video on the layering postures for the strength, engagement, protraction of the core. And when I say to protract in crow instead of retract, people usually use retraction to get more weight forward, to get them up. So when I ask them to protract, they say, well, how do I still do crow? And the answer is to bend your elbows more and to find more flexibility in the wrist, right? So that we can protract and still find that lift. If my arms are back here and my elbows aren't bent, I'll fall back. But if I bring more weight into my hands, I can protract and be here, while also squeezing my heel to my glute. That helps me with the lift as well and not falling back. So we're gonna start to incorporate that. Some engaging the glute and squeezing the heel up. Some wrist stretches to help to really bring this all together. We won't be doing the full class, but I'm just gonna guide you through how I would structure it. So to get started, I always start my classes in Supta Baddha Konasana, where I'm gonna just teach it, like run through it, but teach it like I'm teaching to a class. So you'll arrive on your mat. Of course, create connection with the breath. Remembering that regardless of if you come into the peak pose or not, as long as you are breathing and you are practicing the yoga. From here, I would bring students up through some core work on the back and then up into a seated position, where we'll start to incorporate our wrist stretching, bringing the hands in line with the elbows, fingertips towards the chest, and then bring them away. Good. Fingertips towards the chest, and then away. And we're also gonna light up the hands. So I want you to create fists with the palms, right? Arms out straight. Try to keep the elbows straight and flick water off of your hands, keeping your wrists in flexion. And just to wake up the muscles of the hands, we'll shake them out, and then we'll introduce retraction and protraction of the shoulder blades. So as you retract, it's like the shoulder blades are trying to squeeze something in between. And this is the opposing movement of what we're aiming for today, which is protraction. So hold here in protraction and really feel the space between your shoulder blades. Inhale. You find kind of more of an arch or a back bend, right? As you exhale and protract, you gain more access to the core because of the serratus anterior, separating the shoulder blades, creating space between them, puts us in more of like a crunch. We'll continue to pull belly into spine, hug your hip bones in towards one another like we hopefully went over on the back. Inhale, arch. Exhale, find the space between your shoulder blades. And we'll bring it down into a tabletop position. And here you get to experience that space between the shoulder blades in the shape that we'll be doing for crow pose today. But we'll keep the arms straight. So keep your arms straight here, and then let the shoulder blades come together in retraction so you can really feel the difference when you press away. Create space between your shoulder blades. It's like a doming of the upper back. Inhale, they come towards one another. Exhale, press down to lift up. Inhale, they come towards one another. Exhale, find the space between. Good, we'll hold that and bring a block underneath one hand. Curling toes under. Opposite leg comes behind you, or same leg comes behind you as the hand that's on the block, and we'll find those bird dogs while pressing into the block. So if we continue to press into the block, we keep this shoulder blade in protraction, giving us more access to the core. So keep pressing away with that block. Inhale, we extend. Exhale, elbow to knee meets. Inhale, extend. Exhale, round. Find the space between the shoulder blades. Inhale, extend. Exhale, round space between the shoulders. And we'll do that on both sides. Really finding that engagement of core and shoulder blades separating. From here, continuing to turn on the wrists. I want you to spread through your hands. Look at your index fingers and make sure they point to the top of the mat. If you're using a yoga mat, if you're just on a big, pretty rug like me, it's kind of like a slight external rotation from the wrist. But no lazy hands, right? We're not like this. We're taking up space on the mat. So find the space between the fingers. From here, press into your fingers and lift the base of your palms just the tiniest bit, like you could slip a credit card in between. And then exhale, lower down as slowly as possible. Lift up the heels of the hands just the tiniest bit, like you could just slip a credit card in between. Exhale, lower it down, and we'll do one more of those. So we're really turning on our wrist flexors, you know, because the hands are trying to go like this when you're pressing into your fingers, turning on the wrist flexors, because what we need to do for today is an extreme wrist extension. So we're turning on the flexors to oppose that, really activate those hand muscles to keep us safe. From here, we'll curl the toes under, and obviously this is a bit of a rushed version of what we would do in class. It might sound a little bit more grounded. I will do some lift and lean. So you'll inhale, come up onto the big toe. Exhale, drive back. So I guide students through this warming of wrist and forearms here. And then the last time I come up on just the big toe, lean forward, find space between the shoulder blades, pull your belly in and lift the right leg. From here, we'll point through the toes, squeeze the hips and the glutes up as you bend the elbows. Then press yourself up and round, right knee to right tricep, we hold. Try to slide the skin from your right elbow up towards your right armpit. Squeeze the heel to the bum. Find the space between your shoulder blades. Maybe you hover the knee off the tricep for a moment, and then step right foot in between your hands. Inhale, rise to low lunge. Exhale, we're going to push the hands forward. So creating space between the shoulder blades again. Inhale, elbows bend, goalpost arms, retraction. Exhale, protraction, push away and feel the shoulder blades separate. From here, hands come down, and we would take the other side. Step back into your plank position. Hold your plank. Press down into your hands and find your shoulder blades to separate. Notice how that makes you grow like 2 inches taller, right, as you find protraction. So we're not here, but we're rounding in the upper back. Belly button pulls into spine, hip bones together. Inhale. Exhale, bend your elbows, lower. Inhale, rise with the shoulders. Exhale, tap your knees, lift your hips, downward facing dog. Starting to link breath and movement. Inhale, look forward. Exhale, step feet to your hands. Inhale, halfway lift. Exhale, and fold. Sun salutations here. Inhale, rise. Exhale, let all the air out. Inhale, half lift. Exhale, step yourself back and lower your body. Inhale, shoulder blades lift. Exhale, knees drop, hips rise, downward facing dog. So I might go through about 3 or 4 of those to really get the breath moving with movement. And then we'll add on some more layering postures. So the right leg this time, it's kind of the same thing we did earlier, but in a lifted position. We inhale to lift, point through the toes, squeeze the glute to lift up. Exhale, right knee, right tricep. You can always drop the left knee down to modify. It's the same thing we did earlier. But if you can, you're sliding the skin of the right knee up. Yeah, squeeze through the heel. Round your shoulders. Find the space between the shoulder blades. Maybe hover the right knee off the elbow for a moment, and then step right foot in between. Rise for high lunge. This is your inhale. On your exhale, you push the hands forward. Find space between the shoulder blades. Inhale, elbows bend. Exhale, hands come down to frame your front foot. On your inhale breath, we lift the back leg for up splits. On your exhale breath, bring your knee in towards your tricep. Inhale, extend the leg up. Now from here, we're going to plant the hands down. And you can bend into your standing knee as much as you need to get this to happen. With the hands on the ground, we're going to start to do a little lift and lean like we did earlier. Inhale, lift the heel. Exhale back. And so you play around with putting a little bit of weight into your hands. This time with the other limb lifted, you'll feel a little bit more weight here. You'll have to spread through the hands, really activate those fingertips to play with the weight, feeling safe in your hands. Maybe you step yourself back into a plank. Maybe you take your hop back and we move through our vinyasa. Knees tap, hips rise, downward facing dog. We would take the other side and then meet with a hop to the front of the mat. Inhale, half lift. Exhale, fold. Soft knees, inhale, rise up. Exhale, hands to heart and to your side, Samasiddhi, at attention pose. Our standing pose for the day, we're going to take eagle. So I would have students come into their eagle in the way that they usually do and point out that once again we have a protraction of the shoulder blades, creating space between the shoulder blades so they can really feel that. And then if you wanted to create a little bit more heat, rather than letting your top leg just kind of totally collapse on the bottom leg, invitation to hover the leg so that there's a tiny bit of space in between. From there, I'm going to turn so you can see me. From there, we'll inhale into our airplane, release hands down, and we meet again in up splits. This time from up splits, students have the invitation to keep working with hands on the ground, maybe working that lift and lean to the point where they come up, up, up onto the big toe and hop, landing with their bent elbows, chaturanga. Inhale, upward facing. Exhale, downward facing dog. All of that layering will bring us to our peak pose of the crow. When we come into crow pose, we want to try to keep in mind that activation of the hands as knees come to triceps, just like we've done before. Now you might work right here on some lift and leans, right? We might lean our weight forward, try to bend the elbows and come back. And think chaturanga, right? Think elbows bent. If you're here, you can practice protracting the shoulder blades. Find the space between. See how I lift it up? You could practice bringing one foot off the ground, squeezing the heel to the butt. You could even practice hovering the knee off the elbow and then coming back. Maybe you try the other leg. If crow is a part of your practice where you're ready to take flight, or you feel like maybe you can try both feet. When you're there, find the space between your shoulder blades, pull belly into spine and lift up. That's what's going to take your crow pose from here, bruising your triceps, dumping all of your weight, wrists feel like shit, to here, rounding, lifting, so much lightness that maybe you could take the right knee off the mat, or off the tricep and send it back for your half crow. So playing around with either crow or half crow, pointing the toes and lifting up. Maybe it's this, we find our crow, maybe we're in retraction and then we find a little protraction and fall back. Oh, I had to activate my toes, right? Find your crow, bring the toes up, round, and you feel a little bit more lightness. Maybe we find one knee off and then we come down. So play with your edge, wherever that is. When we're finished, we'll end with some more wrist care. I just want you to grab an imaginary paintbrush and paint the number 8 with your wrists. Start to get control of the breath. We'll make our way into a forward fold with the palms facing up. Baddha Hasta Uttanasana, getting the feet as high as you can up onto those wrists. Head and neck relax. From there, we'll guide students down onto their backs. with an option to come into a back bend. After all that protraction, it might feel nice to do a little retraction. So maybe that's a fish pose, sitting on the butt, retract the shoulder blades, puff the chest up, and drop back. You could also take a bridge or a wheel. And then we'll come down onto our spine, taking constructive rest pose to reset, leading us into some windshield wipers with the legs, eventually a supine twist to each side, ending with a big hug in, thanking yourself for coming here today and doing something good for your body, your mind, your teaching, your friend, and then releasing into Shavasana. From here, inviting students to roll over to a comfortable side, pressing up and landing in a lengthened spine. And entering with a centering breath. Thank you for listening. That is my class plan for a stretch of the wrist and activation of the protraction of the shoulder blades for crow into maybe a half crow. I hope that you enjoyed this video and let me know what you think.